Ooh. Mama, what are you doing here?
I would ask you the same question, but I already see what you're doing. You're drunk. Do you think that all is going to help you escape from reality?
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, Mom. I'm not ready to go yet. I still got some things to do and some people to see.
Girl, your father is probably turning over in his grave right now, seeing how disrespectful you become. But remember, I'm not like those other parents. I don't mind going to the crack house or the penthouse and get my child that's lost and gone astray.
Lost? Astray? Is that really what you think about me? Or is it because I'm not a preacher or a super saint like my sister? You know, you always talking about God. But where was your God when my husband left me? Raise all these kids by myself. All these bills.
System. Right there with you, protecting you, holding you in his arms, and consoling you. God provided for you.
Hold up. I need a man to provide for me. Talking crazy.
Sometimes God will allow things to happen in our lives in order to get our attention, so he can bring us closer to him. See, the Bible says that he draws near to the broken heart.
My heart's not broken. I'm just broke. I need a man. Okay, you know what? Better yet, I think I might have found one. You know, you always talking about your God. I got one of my own. 6 feet tall, makes 6 figures, and has 6 bank accounts for me to choose from, and a black card.
And you know that's the devil. 666.
Whatever, Mama. Blew my high anyway.
Okay. That was Latrice Carter from Faith Walk Productions and her Edwina Wilson. I'm sorry. Give them a hand again, y'all. That was real good. I like that. The point that was being made here is the segue into my book. And the book that we're actually promoting is this one. No, the man is not the provider. The Creator is. And the biggest point that we got to get today is there's a lot of things that we live the truth, but we believe the lie. Just like you saw in the play, skit here, that the character for Latrice, she really did put it out there exactly how a lot of people think, that the male is the provider. Now, some people will say I'm just doing like a play on words, or it's really not a big deal. But the truth of the matter is, it is a big deal, and it has been causing stress, a lot of heartache for a lot of men and women. And this point that I'm going to be making is very, very serious and should be taken that way. Okay, I'll give you an example of the struggle of this term that or this cliche that we live by. Again, I'm iterating that we live the truth, but we believe the lie. And the truth is that God is our provider, the Creator is our provider. And because a lot of people in here are believers, so let's say that if you believe Adam and Eve was real, before Adam and Eve was created, God had already provided everything that they could need before they was placed into the earth. So when he said that he was going to make man, male and female, he made them, he had already provided the means for them to eat, to breathe, to be taken care of, and gave them dominion over the earth, to subdue it and manage it together as one. Well, I don't know what happened in our thinking after this. But if you get a couple today that's living separately, they've been living separately, had a job, they had their own house, they had their own car, and they were doing well without each other. Well, as soon as the marriage of conversation comes up, as soon as the marriage takes place, the ceremony takes place, automatically, the female submits to the thinking that the male is her provider. Secondly, the male automatically submits to the thought that he is now the provider for this woman. And both of them try to live that. It sounds noble, and many men try to live it. I tried to live it myself. Things change, and nothing seriously happened to me to make me think differently about it, but I've seen things happen around me that it made me see that we're really not the provider. We're actually managers of what he's already provided, exactly how it was in the beginning. He made them. He had already provided everything for them. And then he brought them together. Some people say it's not really a big deal what you're saying, and your book, we can argue some points about it. That's fine. But the reality is, let your husband die. Let your husband get laid off. Sick. Can't work. Then what? Then the fear comes in. Even though most believers holler in church, Jehovah Jireh, God, my provider. Say it all the time. But let that man in their life leave them. All the fear of being taken care of comes in. Now, I hear a lot of women talking. Now, I've been a hairstylist for 25 years. Been around women all my life. Grew up with 5 sisters and a mother. No dad, no brothers. So hearing women talk just is consistently. All of my life. I'm 49 years old now. Now, one of the biggest things that we're in as a life coach, you do a lot of relationship coaching. But in it, the biggest thing that women say that they want is security. Now, when they say security, the thought is money. When they say provision or provided for, the thought is money. The problem is they are thinking about security based on the same premises that the male is the provider. So that's why they have an idea, okay, good looking man, yeah, okay, yeah, he got a job. Can he provide for me and my family? Immediately. Caring about how good he loves, sex, whatever. Security. The only problem is the security is supposed to be connected to the true provider, which is the creator, not the male. Now, let's turn it over. Oh, that feels good for her to think that I'm her provider. Ooh, that feels good. I'm secure. I'm her security. Call me daddy. Now, I'm making light of it, but for real, it's true. Mm-hmm. I hear it. I hear it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But I also hear the crying when the man is gone, by way of divorce, by way of just giving up, by way of sickness by way of death. I hear the other side of the story, and that's what made me write the book. It's like, wait a minute now. My dad died when I was 7. My mom told me I took the role like I was the daddy immediately. I'm 7 years old trying to find a job because of that thinking. But I wanted to. I loved it. I wanted to help my mom. I wanted to help my sisters. Kept on doing it. Always have. Today, still doing it. But I learned not to rob the Creator of the praise, the gratefulness, and the thankfulness. That's only supposed to go to Him for being the true provider. Now, when Adam and Eve, before they fell, before they were disobedient, there was equality. And in that equality, there was managing this thing together as one. Now, I've talked to many different categories of people, and I went to the older people on purpose that were still married or whatever, had divorces or spouses or widowed or whatever. Now, they got this concept of the male ain't the provider. That's true to them now. They don't disagree with this teaching at all. Because they are like, yeah, we done lived through all of that. We done lived through layoffs. We done lived through sicknesses and deaths of the male. And they realize that the men that end up recovering and they woke up one morning like, I am not the provider. I'm here for my wife as a manager of what He's providing. And the thankfulness and the gratefulness and the appreciation went to where it was supposed to go, and the two was doing it together as one, just like it was in the beginning. The origin of it is real. Now, you go from the age of 12 backwards, the 12-year-old on down, they ain't thinking about being no provider. Where the kickball at? My bike. But somewhere in between that little male taking over, trying to be a man, to where that old man is knowing that he's not the provider, we get this thought that that's what we are. And my book explains it in great detail about how powerful this thinking is. Now, let me tell you how powerful the thinking is. We already talked about the couple. The female thought, as soon as I get married, he's my provider. Now, some people say it ain't a big deal, but when you say that this is your provider, why would you give God the praise for being the provider? You won't. And you wouldn't even know you got tricked into not giving Him the praise. You wouldn't even think that way. And the man feels so proud about being able to do it, he ain't even thinking that he robbing God of that praise and that thankfulness and that gratefulness. And then I did a homeless fathers fighting famine in Baltimore on Father's Day. I was up there. I saw 1,500 homeless people getting fed. And it was like a big, giant cookout. And I was videotaping and just going around just videotaping and seeing it. And the true thing that was happening, all these people came together and gave food. There was a lot of free stuff given. And all these people came. And I got up there and I spoke. And what I spoke on was, this is the true provisions coming from the provider. And it was majority of men that was fathers. And it touched me. And I really, for the first time, I saw holiness as it really is, and not the idea of holiness. The idea of holiness is you gotta wear this. You gotta walk like this. You gotta talk like this. You gotta speak like this. You got to do that. But the true holiness is love. Forgiving somebody. Helping somebody. And love really only is activated by a need. So when somebody comes to you with a need, or there is a need, like Hurricane Trina came in, people came and helped, went from all different parts of the United States, went down there and helped. Well, that was activated love because of the need. That's holiness. That's love. Not what you got on, and what church you belong to, what denomination. That's why I'm doing this as a life coach. I don't want to be nobody's preacher. I don't want to be nobody's pastor. The way that he gave me this is you be a life coach. And you can cross all these boundaries that keeps you from being the other way. So when I came back from the Fathers Fighting Famine, did some more thinking. And I saw all these men, these fathers, and I talked to two of them. One in particular that really got me. When I taught the lesson on you're not the provider, your creator is, and the only trick that you didn't know about is the enemy was trying to make sure that you never, ever give the creator the praise for being the true provider. That was the whole trick. And he sat there in front of me and cried. And he wanted to ask God for forgiveness. And I said, let me tell you something, brother. You don't have to ask God for forgiveness. You don't have to do that. What you have to do is understand that he loves you that much. That's why this message came to you today. You innocently followed something that has been taught. The mountain of this teaching is so big that people are afraid to go against it. But they know when they hear truth. When they hear truth, it's in their spirit. It just comes out. You don't have no other choice but to hear it, and it connects with your spirit. But then what happens is your flesh struggles because of all the other teachings that's connected to that. All the people that taught you prior to, and it was the opposite of what I'm saying about who's the real provider. So you sit there and you struggle in your mind like, who I'm going to believe? This little boy over here, they ain't got no title in the church, or my pastor? Question.
I know you talked about what happens in the woman's mentality when she feels that the man is supposed to be her provider. But can you talk about what happens emotionally to the man when he takes on that humongous role of thinking that he's the provider and he gets laid off his job and he's not able to provide anymore financially? What happens to him emotionally and mentally, and sometimes eventually physically, when he tries to take on that huge role?
Okay. Excellent question. It is the same stressors that I heard at the Fathers Fighting Famine. Now these men, every one of them that I talked to had lost their jobs. They had been either laid off or got fired, or the job was no longer. Now, when I hear them, I know the pressures of just taking care. I raised my two girls, just taking care of daughters and a wife. And I've been divorced twice, and I look forward to doing it again. But the whole thing is, I'm in a mindset that those pressures won't hit me again because I know who my provider is. But I'll tell you how the stress was, and all men do this secretly, and not all men will admit it. Yeah, we stressed out about whether or not we're going to be able to keep taking care of our family. Yes, we are stressed out. Yes, we think about that privately. Yes, we have cried about it. Yes, when we have a problem on the job and we sitting there thinking about, I don't even want to be here no more because this is going on and we having problems that we wouldn't want to share with anybody else on this job, because the whole deal is, I don't want to get you involved in this because I know I need this to be who I think I am, the provider. Then you have the opposite side of it, because I've lived on both. The opposite side of it is when you got the money and you attempted to control the situation by the money. When you're not, because now you took the provider role seriously and you want everybody to know that you're a good provider. Now it becomes an ego thing. Now you're putting it out there and you want everybody to know that you are a good provider. Now, how many times do you think a CEO of a company would be full of grace for a person run around in their job, in their establishment, their business, hollering that they are the CEO?
Wouldn't like it.
He wouldn't like it. And pretty soon, that grace going to run out.
That's right. And you're out of here.
I believe that that is what has caused a lot of men to suffer that part of life, losing jobs. Because you didn't know it, and I really got to hone in on that. The men, they didn't know that they were getting tricked into not giving God the praise for being their provider, trying to step in some shoes you cannot be. And you don't need to get sick to find that out. That's why I'm trying to get this message out. You don't need to die for your wife to find that out. And then the other side of the story with the woman. The man leaves. Oh, I don't need no man for nothing. I wear the pants in the house now. What? What pants got to do with being a provider? God don't wear pants. Better laugh on that one. God, you wear pants. Well, anyway. What I'm trying to say is the woman then tries to fill some shoes that she saw very well that the man couldn't. And now she tries to take it on because she say, I got to take care of my children. And then she gets tricked into not giving the Creator the praise. You see how this? And then it just keeps going down and getting stronger and stronger, even into the gay community. You got the film and the stud and the little boy who the girl or whatever. One of them think that the other is the provider. That's how strong it is. That's how deep it rolls. And the problem is, no matter what, you're still getting one thing done. You're getting tricked into robbing the Creator, God, the universe, whatever you want to call them, of the thankfulness, the gratefulness, and the praise. And if you keep doing that so long, eventually, something's going to happen. And that's where I come in at, like, hey, I'm trying to get you off of that road. I really do. And in my book, the whole story is told. I don't want to tell the whole story, but the whole story is told, and it is a true story. It was a fellow seller when I was in the Navy, and he was the night check supervisor. And then I was coming in to replace him. He used to say on a regular basis he was having marital problems. And his favorite line was, 2 years, I'm going to prove to her I'm a good provider. 2 years. 2 years now he said that. Look, I'm going to end up telling the story. But anyway, he ended up committing suicide. Because I had become the night check supervisor, myself, the DOD, and my supervisor, we had to go over to his house because he had never been late, and he just didn't show up. So we called home, no answer. We called the wife, and she said she thinks he has done something. So when we get over there, it's steps like that that was going up, and it was the bathroom door right in front of the steps. I saw his legs just out like that. And when I came all the way up the steps, because the chief and the officer was downstairs in other rooms looking for him, I came up those steps and I saw his legs. I thought he was asleep. But when I came around the door and I saw him, he had shot himself in the head and left a note. And the note was explaining that he has now proved to his wife and his mother-in-law that he's a good provider. And he was waiting for the 2-year mark to go for the insurance, because if he had killed himself prior to the 2 years, they wouldn't have paid out.
Wow. Wow.
So they paid out $200,000 after the 2 years, and that was his mentality. Oh, yes, that's a worst case scenario, but it was real. Mm-hmm. And he claimed that he was a good provider by doing that. Mm. Now, the word provide, because there's going to be people that study the word, and they always say, well, yeah, I know what that, it is in there in Timothy where it says if a man turns from the faith. See, now they miss that, because that's where it's the most important part. They own the provide part. But the most important part of that scripture is turn from the faith. The faith is in the provider, the true provider.
That's right.
But they'll skip that part and say, if a man turn from the faith and don't provide for his family, he's worse than the infidel. Okay. But the word provide is not the same word as provider. If you look up the word provide in the Hebrew, and I'm going to show you all how to do this. If you look up the word provide in the Hebrew, it means to put beforehand. So when you provide for someone, you're putting them before yourself. Mm-hmm. And that has everything to do with therapeutic things, love, caring. You know that you putting this person, because this is your wife or your children or whatever, whichever it is, your husband, whatever. So we got it twisted in that scripture because you still are not the provider. I am really the one that will go and have everything said and think you know everything. That ain't what it meant, whatever. I done been to the theologian schools. I done did all that. I done seen how it works. But the point is, I'm not going to walk away from a true meaning. When I learn it, the origin of a word didn't come from English. Mm-hmm. English came from something else, Latin, Greek, Hebrew. Why won't we do this? Give you a little test here. Now, before I do this test, teacher, you can't play this game. Everybody else can. How many of y'all think y'all are good listeners? You think you're a good listener? You think you're a good listener? Think you're a good listener, brother? All right. Well, let's see. I want everybody to repeat after me 5 times. I'm going to say the word spot, and I want you to repeat it after me, okay? You ready? You ready? You ready, Corey? Corey, you got to stop taking pictures for a minute, Corey. You got to play the game. Okay, you ready? Repeat after me 5 times. Spot, the word spot. You ready? Let's go. Spot. Don't say it slow now. Come on, we're going to start over. Spot.
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 What do you do at a green light?
Stop.
At a green light? Okay. How many of y'all are good listeners? That's all right. That's all right. We talking about listening. We talking about listening. We talking about listening. Now I'm going somewhere with the listening. Now I'm going somewhere with the listening. Okay, we got one more. Come on, redeem yourself. Redeem yourself. Chief, stop talking to him. Okay, okay. We got one more test. We got one more test. You ready? You ready? Teacher, again, you can't play. All right. What does ROAST spell? So, roast is spelled what? How you spell coast?
C-O-A-S-T.
And what do you put in a toaster?
Bread.
Bread. All right. We now know y'all are not good listeners. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, this right here is my favorite site. StudyLight.org. They have a new one. I don't like it. I always look up StudyLight.org Classic because what it allows you to do is to be able to go back, find the Greek and Hebrew words and their true definitions. How many of y'all would say they know what the word obey means? Oh, Lord, they don't even want to answer now. Okay, just in a short statement. Following directions. Sounds good. Following what? What you think? Tisha, you can't play. See, Tisha in the salon with me, she hear all this stuff all the time. Latrice, what do you think obey means?
I can't answer either because you already told me.
Oh, then Tisha, you don't answer. Okay, well we're gonna do this. Here's a scripture, Deuteronomy 13:4. When you go into these scriptures, the one thing about this StudyLight.org, the classic, if you click on the word obey, it'll be a pop-up with the definitions of the word, the original, the origin, what it really was supposed to mean. So this scripture says, "You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him. Keep his commandments and obey his voice, and you shall serve him, cleave unto him." Watch this. Let's see what obey means. What do obey mean, y'all? Over here to the right. To hear. And then do follow no directions. Wait a minute. Let me keep going. I know what you're getting ready to say. I want you to look at D, right there, D. And I want you to read that out loud there, Latrice. This one right here.
I can't see that.
Oh, you can't see that? Well, I'll read it out loud. Don't worry about it. All right.
Can you read that one more time on the mic, sir?
Yeah, we got you. All right. That means something, y'all. I want you to, I'm hitting it like this because we did the little game. Everybody would have got all of it right if they would have heard it with intention and interest. The number one way of getting tricked is hearing something that is not being said. When the Bible states that, and I don't want this to sound like preaching or anything like that, but we hear with foundational truth, and this is all that we know as a foundational truth right now, but I don't want it to sound like it's so spiritual that you can't leave out of here and go to Bahama Breeze and have a drink. You know, that's what, I don't want nobody feeling like that, because the truth of the matter is the relationship with God is private. It's personal. And nobody has the authority over your life but him. So when it comes to my favorite topic, is judgment. Judgment. Because when you hear, you know how people say, judge not, don't judge me, don't, well, that's not what Jesus was talking about. He was teaching you how to judge. And the biggest thing that Jesus went up against on a regular basis is hypocrisy. The biggest place that was performing hypocrisy back in the day was the temple of the Pharisees. If you read the gospel of Jesus Christ, you're going to see him going up against them several different times and calling them hypocrites. Why? He said because they wanted you to obey something that they made up, but they can't live themselves. My favorite one was the one about washing your hands before you eat in their temple. Now, how many of us can't stand when people don't wash their hands before they eat? Okay. The same teaching has been passed on from generation to generation. But Jesus' teaching stays the same. He said it's not what goes in a man that defiles him, it's what comes out of him. And he told them at that meeting, when they was before, because they asked him, why your disciples don't wash their hands before they eat? And Jesus called them a hypocrite. You want the outside of the cup to be clean, but not the inside. So he's talking about the matters of the heart. I will never, ever allow that to happen to me again, to where I get upset because somebody else didn't wash their hands. The reason why is because now I know my heart is being judged by my Creator. I don't want that. I want to go to get in trouble or get something happen to me because I'm mad at somebody washing their hands. Or I'm mad because of some traffic, or I'm mad. No. The thing that I want to hit the most is judging. Because judging comes natural. Judging comes natural because of the fall of man. When they ate of the fruit, the knowledge of good and evil, that knowledge entered them. So they were able to know the difference between the two. Now, the issue is you thinking that taking judging and you cross the line to judgment. You remember when everybody heard the story when Jesus said they caught the lady in adultery, Mary Magdalene. They caught her in adultery, and Jesus said, got down saying, drew the line, ye who is without sin, cast the first stone. Well, the stone represented judgment, and that judgment was death, which was the law. You get caught in adultery, you're supposed to get killed. Now, the funny part about it, the man won't dead. Or he probably was one of the ones who get ready to throw the rock. Now, if that was me or you talking about and draw this line and you without sin cast a stone, we would have got popped upside the head quite a few times. But since it was Jesus, the word, he spoke it, it went into their hearts, it convicted them, and they dropped their stones. See, that's what's supposed to happen. What made them, what got them convicted? The mirror. And do you know that the judgment was about the lady's sex life? And that's what the stones had to get dropped on? I tell you today that there's 3 areas of anybody's life you don't have no authority over. And you might as well just stop talking about it. Because that's all it is. Now it's just gossiping. You don't have no authority over a person's faith. You don't have no authority over a person's sex life. And you don't have any authority over a person's choice of who they want to marry. Those are the 3 areas you have no authority over. So your judgment on any of those areas of anybody's life, I promise you that the word says when you put that judgment out, it's going to come back on you. And the saddest thing that I see happening in church is judgment. But what's sad about it, the people that's doing it have no idea of that same doom that you put on the person in your judgment. You didn't know that was being put on them. You didn't know that was doom being put on them. It came back on you in your life, and you don't know why these circumstances are in your life. That's why it kills me to hear somebody say, I don't know why bad things happen to good people. Well, hold on. Put this in reverse. You don't know what they done. It could be something as simple as that person being judgmental of another person. And that's why it came back on them. And the saddest part is it's happening in the place where the stone should be being dropped. So I would like to see more and more people take this to heart. We live the truth. We don't have to believe the lie no more. What is our time like?
Okay. Yeah,
okay. Now, I did the talking, but I want to hear some questions. I don't care what the topic is. And there's no taboo topic. Okay.
You know, you made a statement that, when a woman, when the husband leaves her or die, she starts to get there. But I feel, you say something about, I feel if a woman is used to working, before she got involved with the man, got married, and she came together with them, but still yet she still had that independency in her. Where she didn't just give it all up. She still had that in her mind, because I guess in my mind, this is how I feel.
Okay.
I meet a man, I date him. He wants to do, but I'm used to being, independent and, taking care of me. So just in case, he wants to leave or something, I have that mindset where, if he leaves tomorrow, where I'm going to be if I just stop everything and let him, then I'm out there. So
Well, that would be the only issue. That would be the only issue. Now, you use the word independence. I am a wordsmith, which means that we have to make sure we know what these words mean when we use them. Mm-hmm. Independent is a word that was formed from dependence. Mm-hmm. So there's really no such thing as independent. Independent of what? Independent of who? We were created to be dependent upon each other. Totally dependent upon God. Now, again, the reason why it has to be said like this, because that's the reason why we got into the thinking of the male as the provider, because of a word being put out there. I don't know when it started, but I can imagine that this. Do you know that in Genesis, when the curse was being placed on the woman, equality was separated or removed? Because before the curse, they walked as one. Jesus said that in Matthew 19, these things were not so in the beginning. What he was referring to, that these a marriage is supposed to be like it was in the beginning, before the fall. That's what we got to get back to. What was it before the fall? They were doing it together as one. You didn't need women's lib to make you feel like you was a woman that's equal to a man. What you needed was to understand that when the Bible says Jesus became the curse because he was hung on a tree, that curse was removed. What curse are we talking about? The curse of when the woman had disobeyed. God said, now he will be your head and rule over you. The equality left then. So it also said that she will usurp him, which means that she was constantly. Now, most people say, and there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with this, but most people say, this is my head, and take it with honor and pride and all that. But the truth of the matter is, when God said, I'm going to curse her, is a curse a good thing?
No.
So when he said, I'm going to curse her by making him the head of her now, due to her disobedience, was that a good thing?
No.
So if anybody would say she lost anything, the woman, she lost it there. She lost her equality in the curse, but was restored by who? Jesus Christ. So if we get back to it, we don't have to claim independence. What we got to claim is dependent upon our provider, our real provider. If we get that, we won't have the argument so strong. And even though you use the word independence, I know why you did it. I know what you were going to. But keep in mind, you're just as dependent on God as the next person, the next male, the next female, or whatever. You know, I was told that I was an independent entrepreneur, and I disagree with them totally, because I said, no, I'm dependent on every one of them clients coming in that door. So people were saying, well, no, Vaughn, because, you know, it's rich people that do. No. They brought up Oprah. I said, no, Oprah depended on all them people watching her show. Mm-hmm. She's dependent on that. Let them stop.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, what about love? You're dependent. You need love. You're dependent on that. You're not independent of love. You're not independent of anything. So if we took that out of the way, guess what would be left to think? We need each other. Mm-hmm. It's simple as that. So we live the truth that we need each other, but we believe the lie. And we believe it through hurts, disappointments, problems that we've had in the past. And so then we come up with this whole new way of thinking. Okay, guess what? I don't need you. I'm independent. Independent of what? Independent of what? Go ahead.
No, you said, we get this attitude that, we don't need each other. But, if you're used to, you're coming up and it's not a thing of saying, well, I need you or, you need me. If I'm just used to working or just taking care of what's mine, I don't understand. Why is that so wrong, Dad?
It's not that it's wrong. It's only when it's being tricked into not giving the proper gratefulness, praise, and honor to who really is providing for you. Because I done seen too many people, and I've coached too many people that have went through the poverty-stricken moments of their lives because I'm sitting here like, I know why, but they won't believe me if I told them. They won't believe me if I told them. See, the biggest problem is that way of thinking is not your own. It was transferred to you. That way of thinking, you know how many women unheard that? Because of what they call no good men or whatever. And then they try to set themselves up to protect themselves in it like, okay, what if he leaves? So guess what they do? They try to protect themselves. The biggest issue is you're trusting the wrong thing. Jeremiah 17:5-7 says, cursed is the man that trusts in man. So how are you going to be independent? Proverbs 3:5-7. Trust in the Lord with all
That's right.
your heart.
That's right.
Okay, now if he asks for trust in him with all your heart, what is all of your heart? Some people be talking like, okay, they'll say that, but then right after they say that, they'll be like, well, you got to have a little trust in somebody this and trust in that. No. He said don't trust in princes, money, and man. Material, he said don't trust in it. Now, you got people that are arguing the point, but they're getting trust and loyalty mixed up. Because trust and loyalty are not the same. Trust is your way of making decisions. So what you going to do? You're going to give that way over to someone else? Or you're going to that's why he said lean not to your own understanding.
That's right.
Because that's your way of making decisions. He said lean not to your own understanding. So why would he tell you it's all right or agree with you to give your leaning of understanding to another human being that can hurt you, will hurt you? That's why we came up with the word distrust, which only means unforgiveness. You distrust. How did you get into distrust? Well, I was trusting them, and then they disappointed me.
That's right.
Oh, you trusted them with another part of that all that was supposed to be trusting somewhere else. Yeah, it's hard to grasp this type of understanding because of all the years and influence of all these years of teaching that has been come. But I guarantee you talk to somebody older and they'll live the majority of their life, they'll be like, yeah, that's right, because they done lived it. Question.
What happens when you're in a relationship with someone and your mentality has changed because now you've been enlightened by the fact that they are not the provider, but they're still stuck in the mentality that they are? And I guess I'm asking more from a woman's perspective because as an enlightened woman, I know now that a man is not my provider. And I desire to live pre-curse womanhood. So I'm accustomed to living a blessed life, but I start dating someone who is living under the curse. And their mentality still is, no, I'm supposed to be the provider. No, I'm in charge. But I know for myself that God is the one who is the provider, and he's been meeting my needs all along. How could those two people walk together?
Well, the first thing has to be discussed like this. Curse, the word curse, it's a Hebrew word and it is a Greek word. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but it's arithmetic. We're just going to say that. Sounds good, but it's arithmetic. What it means is divine order of punishment. So when we are talking about the word curse, we got to remember that it wasn't this scary thing. Mm-hmm. And you talk to most Christians, you say something about curse, I ain't cursed. I'm too blessed to be cursed. Yeah, whatever. You'll get a spanking every now and then if you act up. Yes. But the point needs to be honed in like this. If you feel like somebody is cursed, change the mentality to this. God is correcting them. Because the word curse, Deuteronomy 11:26 says, behold, I lay before you a blessing and a curse. This is how it came together. We talk like it's something separate that you got to run with. No, this together. I gave you a blessing and a curse. When some people be like, okay, we got free will, God gave us free will. No, he gave you freedom to choose from one of these. You went along with the world saying we got free will. Free from what? Because here's the deal. You're not free from one of these outcomes.
That's right.
Free from what? You choose to go down this path. You're not free from the outcome of it. And I don't say that just in the negative. Mm-hmm. You're not free from the outcome of the blessing. Mm-hmm. You just need to choose the blessing. But as wise as our Father is, this is why I like it. He is just so awesome in his ways. He said the curse was divine order of punishment, correction, and judgment. Well, here's the deal. You ever, mothers, fathers in here with children, you ever corrected your child and see them get better? That punishment and see them get better? Same thing. We didn't learn that on our own. That's instinctively put in us by the Creator to use correction properly. We scared of the word curse. You know why you're scared of it? Because you thought it meant something demonic. You thought it meant something to be scared of. I ain't scared of the word curse because I know what it means. Divine order of punishment, correction, and judgment. So, when we say we have this to deal with, you got this man that's living under the curse or whatever, stop and say, okay, one thing I'll tell any person, when you love God and your future, you can let anything and anyone go. But when you don't love God and your future, tell my daughters the same thing. That's the reason why you stay. Especially when you have not been delivered from the male is the provider. Mm-hmm. Especially when you haven't been delivered from this. You know how the one thing I would push to men when I teach this, the only thing I push to them is like, look, brother, don't think I'm sitting up here telling you that you don't have to take care of your family no more. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that what you have to do is no longer rob God of this praise that he's due for, because if we got, let's say we got Corey and we PP, we got Corey. She ends up making $100,000 a year. He makes 40. The unit makes 140. That's how God sees it. We see it all these other ways. Like, you, for instance, you got, our time is running out. Okay. You got the word single. Most of us say that the word single is not married. Well, the word single in the Hebrew is haplus. Haplus. It means a particle of a unit. So that he always intended for that particle to become that unit. What is the unit he's talking about? Marriage. Mm-hmm. You like that one? He smiled on that one. But see, the whole deal is, I like that idea of knowing that when he states something, it included my future. Mm-hmm. I like that. So that's why I can be in a relationship and find out things that it's not proper for me to continue on in this and be like, hey, I love you, I forgive you, but this ain't working. And I teach this in many other lessons. You don't make choices. You manage them. And when you manage choices, you have the ability to get out of things you ain't supposed to be in. Stop making vows and be like, okay, we're going to be together forever. You know how many people done said that and ain't forever? I'll tell you one, you ain't going to be together forever because it's promised to a man to die. Mm-hmm. So they're going to forever gone right there. But we got to get it in. We got to get it in. My time is up, y'all. This was a nice lesson, and I like the questions. I really like that. You really pushed that one in there. I like that. And this was a moment with Levon, spiritual moments with Levon. I will be having sessions coming up soon. I want y'all emails. And everybody here, if you email me and subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can find that in these flyers, then I am going to send you a free copy of my book, Freedom to Live Authentically, where I prove to you that you do not have to live a copied life. And a copied life means that you have been just doing things just because somebody else did it in your family, and you don't have to do that. All right? We good. Thank you all.